Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Operations Room, a podcast for COOs. I am Brandon Minsinga, joined by my amazing co-host Bethany Ayers. How are things going, Bethany?
They're going really well. I'm a little tired just because I'm on now day 10 of my CEO role. Day 10. I'm trying to, at some point it'll be like newborn children where you stop counting the days or the weeks and the months and just get into normal time.
It'll all blend together at some point, I'm sure.
But right now I'm trying to remind myself of just the number of days that I've been here and to give myself a little bit of a break for having not managed to do everything in the
Transform the
first 10 days.
organization in 10 days.
Yeah. Although on day 9, which was yesterday for, those who are maybe not as numerate, we had our first all hands. So brought the whole team together, and I spent all of Wednesday, so the event was on Thursday, figuring out vision, mission, my ambitions for the team, and did my first CEO talk, as in not just like CEO here talk, but ever.
Yeah.
Rather than being the COO to follow the inspirational CEO talk, I was that first talk.
You were the inspirational talk for the vision and mission. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. So I spent all day Wednesday working with ChatGPT on what I should talk about and how should it work. People keep talking about Whisper Flow, and I was not convinced that I wanted to use it. And I was like, I can just type fine. But actually, I've been using it, and it is so good.
Okay, Whisper Flow. What is that?
Yeah, it's a dictation tool, but it gets rid of your ums and ahs. It adds in your punctuation, but the thing for using it with ChatGPT that's much better than using the native ChatGPT, just talking to it, is I've found that it's still a bit glitchy. And so sometimes I can talk for a long time and all of it is lost, and ChatGPT just hasn't picked it up. But when I use WhisperFlow, it also captures it itself. But I was able to just explain everything that I was thinking, and what area should I cover more? What should I cover less? What's the structure? And in the course of the day, we figured out the vision and the mission and the flow. I ended up actually, and it just gave me something to work with. And I ended up changing the flow when I started to get involved in the slides myself. But at least it had something as a skeleton that I could work with. And then it was actually, these slides are stupid, or this flow would be a bit better. And ended up with a flow of, where are we today? Where are we going? How are we going to get there? So I didn't finish working till about 10:30 on Wednesday. I wasn't feeling comfortable with the slides overall. It didn't feel great, but I knew the slides were good. I knew that the flow was good, but I didn't necessarily deeply believe all of it myself, or hadn't I internalized it. Went to sleep, slept really poorly, worrying about the day, thinking about it, processing stuff. Woke up and it's just like, oh, how am I going to do this? On so little energy. Got in, did a 1-to-1, drank some tea, and then did the presentation. And I just have to say, I did an amazing job. It was like some other person talking. And I was like, so there's almost like an out-of-body experience at one point. I'm like, look at this person talk. Where are these words coming from? This is amazing. This sounds so good. I would follow this person.
So, okay, how did that happen? So,
I don't know.
1-to-1, a bit of tea. Yeah. What was
Yeah,
the
the
elixir?
hand of God or something. Like, it really was just,
Yeah.
yeah. I did so much better than I actually thought possible. And I honestly have no idea how I did that.
Yeah, I feel like this is like what we need to impart to our listeners. How do you pull the rabbit out of the hat here? And I'm wondering your structure and flow and what you had preordained the previous night. Did you actually mostly use it, or how did it play out in terms of the actual usage of the material?
I did, but the talk track around all of it was just excellent. And I don't know how. It really
Okay.
was I So I talked to my husband about it yesterday, and he said, but you were so in the zone on Wednesday. He's like, you were deeply in it. I knew you'd do a great job. And I was like, but I didn't feel like I was deeply in it. He's like, no, you were so immersed. You were there. And I was like, okay. And then I think all of that processing in the night, even though I didn't sleep well, like there was a lot of brain going on that it all just came together somehow.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I mean, sometimes, I don't know, the level of focus and intensity of your thinking, by definition, will put you in the zone just because you've thought about it so deeply. So the words that are coming out of your mouth, they're very natural because you've like tuned in to the exact kind of like emotion and feeling and kind of talk track that you've manifested over the course of the previous day.
Yeah. So it worked well. Then the two follow-on the two follow-on talks, one from sales and one from engineering, both went really well as well. It looked like there were a lot of slides, so I thought that might be the whole day. And I'd had a communication workshop built into the agenda, but I honestly didn't think we were going to get to it because once I saw the slides from the other two decks, I was like, it's going to be slightly death by PowerPoint and it's going to be a long day. But I hadn't seen their final decks. I just thought I had seen their final decks. And between 10 o'clock at night and 8 a.m. the next morning, both of them had been halved the number of slides and were like much tighter and better stories.
That's beautiful. That's
Yeah.
great.
And so then we did have time for the communication workshop, but I had nothing planned because I didn't think we were going to get to it.
Right.
So
What? So
I gave everybody, I was like, yeah, and it was 1:30. People are a bit tired. We'd had lunch and stuff. So I was like, oh, go get your coffees, come back in 15 minutes. And in those 15 minutes, did a bit of a brainstorm with somebody else and came up with what I think is a really good game. Like it worked for our size. You'd have to somehow change it for a larger company. But it was like, I think the reason why communication is so poor in businesses is because we don't actually understand what other people want to know, need to know. It's just what we think they want to know and need to know. And so you end up with either too much information, not enough information, in the wrong format. The stuff that matters disappears for all of the fluff that doesn't. And so I was like, why don't we do basically a version of the Newlywed Game, which I learned in the UK is called Mr. and Mrs.
okay.
So I said, it's going to be a version of the Newlywed Game. And they all looked at me like I didn't know what I was talking about. And I just figured, oh, that's because I'm American and old. And it's just like a TV show that never made it here. And I started to describe it and they're like, oh, Mr. and Mrs., Mr. and Mrs. Yeah. And so what we did is we split up into go-to-market, engineering, and the leadership team. And we did 3 rounds. So the first one was, I think it doesn't matter, go-to-market. So as a leadership team, we wrote down what are the 5 things we think go-to-market wants to know about and from us. And then engineering wrote what are the 5 things they think go-to-market wants to know from them. And then go-to-market wrote 2 lists, one for the leadership team and one for the engineering team. And then we got points on how many of them you got right. And so there's also a competition. And then we did it 3 rounds for each team. And it was a good laugh, lots of laughing and joking and chat, but also real aha moments of you don't care about that, or more, that's what you want to know about.
Right.
And so now we have these lists and we can remind ourselves about what it is that each team wants to know about.
So so let me get this straight. So on the fly, within 15 minutes, you had formulated this plot of this game and executed it, and it sounds fabulous. And you actually got some results, and yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, I'm telling you, like God was going through me yesterday.
Yeah,
Like I just,
because
yeah.
amazing. So I had a leadership offsite yesterday, and we have them once every 6 weeks. So I host and facilitate the session, and I've had sort of not a revelation, but it's more re-reminded myself, I guess, in some ways, like how best to run these things. As always, you try to like put a structure in the agenda, kind of as we do now, like pre-reads for core topics, whereby the pre-reads are distributed the day before. People have an opportunity to read them, put in their comments. So there's more of a thoughtful set of like views that are percolated before we actually enter into the sessions type thing, right? And previously, up until now, for these offsites, I've been fairly sort of rigid with like the structure and the agenda and all that. And I could kind of tell with the group, like when you're overly prescriptive around what you're talking about, it sometimes creates lifeless conversations or like not what you want in terms of like a real chat to get to real outcomes, because it's not, there's like an organicness that you're removing somehow by keeping this kind of strict agenda, I suppose.
Yeah.
And on the flip side of it, having no agenda, as we know, is just like it can be like a free for all talking about whatever, going into crazy rabbit holes forever, essentially. And that's not cool either. So I think this one in particular, I think we came to a really good middle ground between some level of like agenda structure to it, but very much pausing when something was either not being discussed and it should be, or we had kind of glossed over something that actually was important and actually going back to it, like flagging it. Like I felt I was more masterminding the day and being active in terms of just thinking about like, what are we talking about? Is this useful? Are we talking about the right things? Am I kind of ensuring that whatever was serviced earlier is being pulled back into the conversation again to actually get to outcomes? So I felt this session was probably the best version of it thus far at this new company.
And so was that a letting go of time?
Yeah, because our timings definitely were off, but it didn't matter. I think getting just too caught up on all that stuff, like we have to get this done, we have to get that block done, this block done to make a day productive, I think defeats the purpose of an offsite, because you're there as a group, the energy levels kind of ebb and flow, and all that people want out of it really is to align on things that matter and get to outcomes where there's either an action or there's like alignment that we actually agree upon, whatever it is that we're talking about, and I think that's really the intent.
Yeah, I haven't done exactly what you've done, but what I did do at peak was get rid of agenda timings. So we had like a flow of topics and we knew we had things like lunch, but it wasn't okay, like guessing ahead of time, this is a 1 hour conversation, this is a 45-minute conversation, this is a whatever. That worked much better than also highlighting the 1, 2, 3 things that absolutely have to be addressed.
Yeah.
And it's almost like those you do some of the other topics to build into the big ones.
Yeah.
In a way. I think that works as long as there's a structure. So it's not a timing structure, but it is what you're talking about. What are we trying to answer today? What are the topics we need to cover? Rather than that keeps it from being a free for all. Is that you can stop the rabbit holes. You're like, is this relevant to today?
So we have got a great topic for today, which is how storytelling can get you what you want. We have an amazing guest for this, which is 𝗵𝗃𝗺. He is an author, a speaker, and a coach for his organization called the Story Spotters, which makes sense. So the first thing that David had spoken about was